Everybody. Tu Bishvat's upon us, the new year of the trees. And I want to share some perspectives and teachings that Tu Bishvat holds for us in terms of developing and cultivating an expanded and altered state of perception and awareness and consciousness. For starters, Tu Bishvat is, in a sense, asking us to hold various levels of awareness at the same time. It's a day when we're, in a sense, marking the birthday or the beginning of the year of trees, but really of the fruit that will grow, the produce that these trees will bring forth in this year. And it's a time of year when there's barely even a hint of produce on these trees. See, the holiday, it's based on the agricultural cycles of the land of Israel. And this is a season where look around and there aren't fruits on the trees. There's not even really fruit blossoms. That only comes a few months later in the year. What Tu B'Shvat marks, according to our tradition, is the time of year when the majority of rain has fallen, it's been absorbed by the earth. The roots, again, these invisible systems, have begun to absorb that water, and the sap is rising internally within the body of the tree that will ultimately fuel the fruit that will come. But when it comes time for Tu B'Shvat, we go outside and we're looking at barren trees. And we're bearing in mind that there's some internal process taking place, some ascent of life force inside of that tree that is going to bear fruit and blossom. We're holding here the perspective of looking at one thing and holding an awareness of something deeper, something more internal that's taking place that we cannot detect, but we're holding an awareness that it's there and it's happening, and that's what we're relating to this holiday. Inner and outer realities that don't necessarily appear as one, but that we're maintaining this dual or complex awareness about. And in a deeper sense, from a mystical perspective, this holiday is actually about a time in holding together awarenesses of the world of appearances and of the world of essence, of the realm of what we might call created manifest reality, as well as inner, more primal, divine being. You see, the Mishnah, the ancient teaching that teaches about the existence of this holiday, says that on the 15th day of Shvat, it is Rosh Hashanah LaIlan. It is the new year for Ilan, for the tree. And the sages look at this word and they think, what do you mean for the tree? It's for trees. What's this word Ilan doing here? Singular. And one mystical reading on it looks at the numerical value of the word Ilan based on the sacred numerology called Gematria, system where every Hebrew letter has the numerical value and every word that is the numerical value of its parts. So the numerical value of the word Ilan, of tree, is 91. And 91 holds mystical significance because 91 is also the numerical value of the primary ways in which we relate to the divine name. In our tradition, the divine name is spelled one way and spoken another way. It is spelled by the Hebrew letters Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. And it is spoken Adonai. Adonai means my master. It could also mean my anchor. But the name that we speak is not what's written. What's written is a name that doesn't have pronunciation. It's a name that not only is prohibited from being spoken out loud, but actually is almost impossible to pronounce. And it's a word that evokes timeless, eternal, constant being, which truly is something that we cannot pin down with a name or confine. So when we speak the name of God, we are saying one thing and we are acknowledging that there is something indescribable, ungraspable that we are relating to. Those two names, they're combined as they are spoken and related to at one moment. When the numerical values are combined, they also add up to 91. So the mystics teach that Rosh Hashanah Le'Iman, the new year for the tree, is relating to the unification, to the coexistence between the, the realm of appearance, of created reality, of the subjective world that we encounter and experience, together with the invisible, the unseen, the infinite, the undefined divine essence that is within all of these realms of appearance, sensory experience, perception, etc. That these two realms are fully intertwined with one another, that within appearance is pure being, even though it is not what is apparent to us. And that the world of experience is emergent from that endless stream, constant stream of being that's here at the same time. And this is something that we're learning from the trees, that we are receiving from the trees embodying for us. And to go even deeper into this, the trees in our tradition go way, way, way back to one of the earliest stories of the Torah itself, which is the story of the Garden of Eden, where God creates a universe, the Torah tells us, and then plants a garden. And in the garden, the Torah says God plants all kinds of beautiful, wonderful trees, and then two very special trees, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life, the Eitz HaChaim, and the Eitz HaDaat Tov. And here, I want to share a teaching from the Hasidic master of Tzadok, Cohen of Lublin. And he's also riffing off of this idea that the Mishnah says on the 15th of Shvat, it's the new year of the tree, not trees. That there's some sense that there's a singular tree. And here Rav Tzadok invites us to read the text of the Torah, the words of the Torah, more deeply than what appears on the surface. Because we all think, okay, God planted this garden, and there's this tree, and there's that tree. God says, don't eat from that tree, etc. Tzadok brings our attention to the words of Genesis in chapter 2, and it says that God plants a garden with all these trees, ve'etz ha'chaim betoch hagan, ve'etz hadat tov v'ra. That God plants the tree of life betoch, within the garden, as well as the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, Tzadok says that what this means, that the tree of life is within the garden, is actually that within all of the trees of the universe, all of the trees of God's garden, there's a root of the tree of life. It's there at the root of every tree. And he says that the tree of knowledge of good and evil is also there at the root of every tree. And that there's, in a sense, a choice given. You go through door 1 or go through door 2. Which tree are you going to be eating from? Which prison which lens, which approach of contact with the world around us are we going to be entering through when we make contact with life? Will it be through the door of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, of the perspective that's based on, first of all, my knowledge and the limits of my knowledge, the judgments of this is good, this isn't good, I'm drawn to this, I'm averse to that, a world of dualities, a world of this binary labeling of things, again, based on the own limitations of my own awareness and perceptions. That's one way in which we interact with reality, with all of the trees around us. That is what happened in the Torah's telling of the Garden of Eden story, that Adam and Eve eat from that tree. And Rav Tzadok explains once they eat from that tree, they then feel and taste and sense in every other tree, every other interaction with life, they're tasting again and again the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In a sense that the entire prism of reality becomes defined then by these binary categories and by this very limited perspective. Whereas if, he says, they were to eat first from the tree of life, every other encounter with the trees, every other encounter with life in this garden would bring them in touch with life, with the tree of life. So again, the tree of life within all of the trees, the tree of knowledge of good and evil within all of the trees. Tree of life, he says, is the singular tree that is possible for us. That if we taste from it, we end up tasting that one tree everywhere else. But once we eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we're always in a world of multiplicity, of separateness, of these distinctions that are really based on a very small realm of perception. And I want to there's always what appears to us, whether in the visual field, whether in the somatic sense, whether in the thoughts that we have. And at every moment there, each of these offerings of fruit, if you will, each of these sproutings of trees toward us, there's always a choice here. Do I latch on to the appearance and react to it? Or do I allow myself to slide beneath it and get closer to the current and streaming just energy, an undefined life force that is within that experience? Here too, we have the options, the potential to be contacting the realm of knowledge of good and evil, of I already know what it is, and based on that, I'm labeling it as good, I'm labeling it as evil, I'm accepting, or I'm fighting, or I'm running away from, or I'm embracing. Or to enter through the gate of the tree of life, which is here is another emergent stream of life that I am going to allow myself to make space for, to be perhaps swept by or touched by. And while the Torah does tell a story that sounds like a chronological narrative, Tzadok goes on to explain that this isn't merely history or the past. It's not that it happened and therefore we're doomed. But as all mystical and Hasidic traditions teach, the Torah is always retold through our own experiences in the here and now. So he gives an example. The sages teach that at Mount Sinai, when there was an experience of this direct encounter with divine reality, The Talmud teaches Paskazu Matal Shel Nachash, which literally means the venom of the serpent, the venom of the snake back in the garden ceased. That in a sense we were somehow impacted by that encounter with the tree of knowledge and with the figure of the snake in that story. And it lasted for generations. And at this direct encounter with divine reality, we were freed from that. Rav Tzadok says that there was that opening in that moment. And if we had remained in that state, there would have, from that point on, remained to be only one tree, that tree of life, in all of our encounters and all our experiences. But it was a state that we visited powerfully at that point and then returned from. But I want to just add here a layer that the word nachash, serpent or snake, it's related in Hebrew to the word lenachesh, which means to guess. That in a sense, the eating of the tree of knowledge on the level of consciousness and level of awareness is that we're always constantly guessing at reality. We're never interacting with it as it is. We're guessing at what it is, and we're believing our guesses about it. We are assuming that our guesses about what is are themselves definitive. And that's the trap. That is the trap of the serpent. That's the trap of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it's, in a sense, that which prevents us from making contact with life itself as it is coming through into us. Tu Bishvat is an invitation to, in a sense, approach the tree of life through the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What do I mean by that? We cannot escape the way in which we perceive reality. It is through limitations. It is through binary or dualistic experience. There's always subject object just in our initial encounter with reality and with life. When I look at the tree, I cannot see something else. And yet, I don't need to stop there. I can encounter the world of that overlay, the concretized overlay of reality and what it appears to be. And I can encounter the world of appearance, and I can let myself come even closer and reach beyond it. I can maintain an awareness of, yes, I'm feeling this barren branch, and I'm aware that within it, there is rising, unfolding life, and I'm celebrating on this day, in this moment, that inner emergence that I know to be here. There's a way in which that itself, the trees themselves, serve as a teacher for me to perhaps attune with more nuance and with more softness and with more flexibility then to those phenomena of life. And in my space of practice or in expanded states, to be able to bring that same awareness to encountering whatever it is that I'm experiencing. Yes, this is existing on this level of how it appears, of how it is felt and seen. And can I also let myself contact that yet to be defined emergent stream of energy, of life, of being that is within it. Sharing a blessing here for all of us, for this Tu Bishvat to connect us to the root and to the trunk and to the trees and to the fruits. That the full spectrum of experience and the full spectrum of reality is more open to us, more available to us, and allows us then to encounter and receive and accept and share the fuller range of gifts that being here, being alive here in this world offers us. Happy Tu B'Shvat, Happy New Year to all of us, to all the trees.